Welcome to the Bike Talk with Dave podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Dave Mabel, and this week I caught up with Cole Paton, one of the bright stars in U.S. mountain biking and gravel. I met him at the Schwamigan 40 mountain bike race, which is the fifth race in the 7-race Lifetime Grand Prix, which is a season-long series of the biggest gravel and mountain bike races in the country. Cole finished third in the inaugural series last year, and he currently sits in second with 2 more races to go. I actually love how we connected, because just like he and I did this year, last year his longtime girlfriend, Sevilla Blanc, won the Schwamigan race, and I introduced myself after the podium presentation, and I invited her on the show. You'll have to check out our conversation in episode 40. So it was super fun to meet Cole in the exact same way, and actually in the exact same place 1 year later. Okay, enough of that. Let's meet Cole. Cole Paton, how you doing today? Welcome to Bike Talk with Dave.
Doing really good. Thanks for having me, Dave.
It looks warm where you're at. We just met in the North Woods, eh? And
I know.
It looks warm where you're at. Where are you at today?
Yeah, I made it down to Auburn, Alabama, just kind of the next stop of my tour for Marathon Mountain Bike National Championships this weekend.
You got a full schedule because you just left Wisconsin and hiked on down south.
Yeah.
I-35? No, you probably veer off at 35. I don't know the way down there, but I have a kid in Austin, so I-35 is well traveled in my household. But heading down to Alabama for Marathon Nationals, and I had to kind of laugh because it's called Marathon Nationals, so marathon would be an operative word there, and you just came off of Schwamigan, and Schwamigan's like, I don't know, 4 miles shorter than Marathon Nationals, and Schwamigan is the shortest race by far in the Lifetime Grand Prix. So I guess however we define the word marathon,
I know.
Maybe that's subjective, but you looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. I've gotten out on course the last couple days, and it's going to be a really fun one. Really contrasting to Schwamigan, even though it's only a couple miles shorter. I think it'll take a lot longer because unlike Schwamigan, which is kind of long or just straight and flat, this one has about 1 million corners in it. We were just talking. It's like a spaghetti noodle dropped on a table for 20 miles, and we do 2 laps. But yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a good fight for the title, and I'm feeling really good at this point in the season. And the more mountain bike races I can get out to these days, the better, and the happier I am. So it's going to be a fun stop for me.
Schwamigan's flat? What? Flat? Yes, there's 2 inches of gravel roads. Okay, maybe more than that, but man, oh man.
Yeah, okay. It was punchier than ever. That course is amazing. I don't mean anything by it. It's probably the best. It's one of those courses where you pre-ride it and you're like, nothing really that special, and then you race it and it's like, that was the most fun I've ever had at a bike race. So I love that. It's so unique in the way that they have us on the Birkebeiner Trail, and then just through all the little back roads back there. Can't recommend that one enough.
Yeah, I definitely can't either. I've been going since '99, and my wife and I have been doing it on tandem since 2002, and it's a great tandem course, though not easy. I mean, that Birkie is super hard because a tandem is like a Mack truck, and it flies downhill and on the flats, but uphill it just is throwing a brick out the back and trying to haul it up the hill. But it's super fun. We'd love that race. But we said several times it was a lot of new course this year, and it was very mountain bikey. And I know you guys came in, and I'm going to go here now, although it will probably back up into this because it's part of the Lifetime Grand Prix, which I want to, kind of summarize a little bit. You guys come to the finish line with 14 people. How did that not split up? I just can't
I
figure
know.
that out because there were some parts of the trail that were absolute single track and rocky and bouncy and muddy.
Yeah.
And I like it's not like you can just sit on a wheel and follow somebody and that'll do you any good. So I just can't picture even how it came to be that 14 of you come to the line together.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, I think this year it's the most competitive that we've ever really seen in at least in the Grand Prix for sure. It's just the second year, but in all of these races, everyone has just brought their A game, and everyone's been preparing really hard, and everyone kind of knows about these courses and what they're going to be like, and knows what to expect. And I don't think we ever really got a separation because although there are a lot of punches, there's a ton of high speed rollers where you can just carry momentum, and if you have a few motivated dudes, which we had about 100, um, there's just always
Right.
someone that can come up and over and help close down those little gaps. So there were only a few times where it was just Brian Motter actually off the front. He made a couple cheeky moves and he was off the front for a while, but other than that, it really stayed together, and it was just, we'd go super hard in the narrow sections trying to split it up, and then everyone would kind of sit up or try to recover on the gravel sections. But we still averaged, I don't know exactly, but it had to be close to 20 miles an hour. It was a super fast race, and so the draft is really helpful. And when you have a big group like that, there's a lot of people to kind of break the wind, and everyone stayed super fresh because we're all trained for these really long races.
Yeah, it probably felt like running a 5K after running
Oh
marathons all
yeah, it
summer.
was awesome. It was so fun.
Are you are you like, wait, we're done? Is that it? Can we turn around and go back?
I was happy to be done.
Where's the
I didn't feel like a corpse after the race like I do for a lot of these gravel events. So that was nice.
I bet, I bet. I want to get a little more into Lifetime because I think it's super interesting. And one of the things that's interesting about it is how the courses are so diverse and how do you guys prepare for that? And I want to get into that, but I'm also curious, like, you're obviously pretty athletic young man. Why the bike? How'd you end up on the bike? Like you could choose from all kinds of sports, but and I know you grew up skiing in Washington and doing all sorts of other things, fishing. But how'd you end up like focusing on the bike and making that your career?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were huge in kind of supporting me and leading me down this path. My family has a sporting goods store in Washington. Shout out Arlberg Sports. And yeah, it's a ski shop in the winter and a bike shop in the summer. And so those were like the two big sports that I grew up doing. I wasn't super competitive cycling when I was younger. It was more focused on downhill ski racing, and that was kind of where my sister raced, and my dad was really into it, and we traveled a bunch doing that, and then biking was just kind of my thing. I'd go out and ride with my dad a lot, but I could also go out by myself or ride with my friends, and there was just no pressure there. And it's kind of funny. That's what I ended up pursuing, but it was really just because it was all kind of self motivated and something that I really loved and something that I could do by myself. I didn't have to get a ride to go up to the mountain or have a team to go play with. It was just, it's an individual, it's a lifelong sport, and I loved it. And so yeah, no looking back since then.
That's pretty cool. And two questions from that. One is, what was your ski event?
Slalom. Yeah, yeah,
Slalom?
yeah. Yeah, I was a teeny little kid, super light. I think I was like 90 pounds all the way to high school. So the downhill and GS events didn't suit me so well.
No, you would have had to wear a lead backpack.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. That's awesome. Well, maybe that slalom is why you're going to do well on this weekend
Oh, I hope so.
on that tight, twisty
Yeah,
corner. I mean,
exactly.
I've made this analogy, and anybody who's listened to this podcast will be sick of me talking about this, but I think there's a real correlation between the feeling in downhill skiing and mountain biking. Like both of them, like I literally laugh out loud after a good run,
Uh-huh.
either on the bike or skiing. Like I love them both equally.
For sure.
Um, do you find that?
Yeah, yeah. The older I get, the more parallels I see between the two, and kind of how you have to have weight transfer between cornering and also just the speed factor too. It's big, carrying momentum. It transfers over from the skis and onto the bike, and yeah, I think my many years of downhill skiing helped me not be afraid of high speed on the bike.
Yeah, I can see that correlation. Do you still ski?
I haven't for 2 years, which is crazy because I grew up, skiing over 100 days a year, and that was my life.
Ooh,
But
wow.
yeah, it's been a while. I miss it for sure, and I love it. And, yeah, I'll get to the stage where I'm back on snow a lot.
Well, you're always welcome back on snow.
Yeah.
So you said you didn't race. Um, I mean, you said racing wasn't really your thing on a bike. Do you remember your first race and why'd you do it? Like what got you to the starting line the first time?
Yeah, I said, I mean, it wasn't, I didn't race a ton, but I definitely had some bike races when I was younger. And my first bike race was when I was 8. Um, and yeah, my dad was like, "Oh, we should try this out." There's this local series in Washington, and I was the only kid doing it, just racing with a bunch of old dudes. Um, and yeah, we did it because we used to ride mountain bikes in the summers, and he was trying to keep me busy, and yeah, I remember being so stoked after the finish. I thought it was so cool, and I also thought it was really cool to be racing against old dudes, and not old dudes, but just older dudes at the time. And
I mean, at 8, 25 is an old dude, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone was just so supportive and encouraging of me, especially because I was one of the only kids coming from the area. And that was really cool. I really felt like I had a community behind me when I was younger, whenever I wanted to get on the bike. And even though I didn't have juniors my age, I had a lot of older guys that were supporting me and rubbing elbows with me when I was younger. So that was super cool.
So when did you get fast? When did you know you were fast and start taking things seriously?
So after high school, I knew that I wanted to have a shot at pro cycling, and the one thing for my parents was, okay, but you got to get an education, you got to go to school, you need a backup plan, buddy. um, so
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
exactly. So I chose a school where I could keep racing but also get an education, and that happened to be Fort Lewis College in Durango. And that was a huge turning point for me when I moved to Durango, Colorado. I'm still there off and on throughout the year, and that was where I really found my people and people my age that were pursuing cycling as well, people to train with, and just an amazing cycling town. And that's where I saw, like, okay, this pro cycling thing, it could actually happen. And I raced 4 years on their collegiate team, and then that really set me up to tackle the pro circuit and be ready for what was ahead.
At 25, I'm thinking you're a little younger than like Payson. Payson went to Fort Lewis, and
Yep.
Sepp
Yep.
was there. Did you run into those guys? Did you get to know them in college?
Oh yeah. Well, Sep actually went to Boulder, um, and then
Oh yeah. Okay.
Payson graduated just before I moved there. But I've known Payson really well, and yeah, that whole community is very well connected. So it's pretty funny. I mean, you move there, and all of a sudden, all of your idols become your friends, and you start going on rides with them, and yeah, it felt surreal at first, and now I'm just super thankful for
Now you're one of the kids that people look forward to riding
it.
with. Oh, I rode with Cole today. Oh, wow, that was awesome.
It's cool. It's cool to see, all the younger kids chomping at the bit and working hard and trying to make it happen. So I love riding with them too.
Is there a good future in the at Fort Lewis College of
Oh
young
yeah,
kids coming into the sport?
100%. There's no lack of it. Every year there's so much talent coming through that team. So it's pretty special.
That's very cool. Did you know Sep?
Yeah, yeah. Sep's a legend.
Pretty cool last couple weeks he's had, huh?
Oh my gosh, I've been glued to the TV every morning. Yeah, yeah, it's unbelievable. Such a time in American cycling, and couldn't happen to a better dude. I mean, he's the most genuine guy out there. So I'm so stoked for him.
He seems super genuine, and I've been saying on this podcast about road cycling that we need another hero.
Yeah,
Maybe we found one.
we did. He's it.
Yeah, no doubt. Seems like such a nice guy. Um, and the Vuelta a España is relevant in
Yeah,
America now.
absolutely.
All right, let's get back to where you're at today, which is racing the Lifetime Grand Prix. All right, so Lifetime Grand Prix shows up. You're a mountain biker. I'm kind of curious why you didn't pursue the World Cup route on the mountain bike. I know you have a certain someone special who is living in Europe this summer, racing on a French team, doing the whole World Cup thing, and in fact, just got fifth at Ligier.
Yep.
Where was that?
Yeah, in France.
Which is awesome. Yep. Which is super awesome. Sevilla Blanc.
Yep.
I feel like it would be natural for you to like put together some World Cup points and then go travel the world with Sevilla and do the World Cup thing. But you're here in the States chasing the Lifetime Grand Prix, and I don't know, doing the longer mountain bikey things. In addition to the Lifetime Grand Prix, why choose that route instead of the World Cup route?
Yeah, good question. I actually did pursue the World Cup for quite a while, all through juniors and U23s. Sevilla and I were racing together and trying to make it happen over there. And I had a year with Giant chasing a full European World Cup calendar in 2019. And then COVID hit, and it was really hard for me to find opportunity to get over to Europe, stay there, and race full time. I didn't have any exceptional results on the World Cups. I think my best result was a 11th in Lenzerheide as a U23. So I had a few top 15s, but nothing phenomenal like Sevilla. And there just seemed to be way more professional opportunities in cycling for me, doing these longer endurance events. And after COVID, I was out of contract. So was Sevilla. And at the time, Orange Seal picked up both of us super late in the year, and we almost didn't think that we were going to keep racing. But they saw a lot of potential in us, which I'm forever grateful for. And John, Vargas, who runs the show there, he really introduced me to what these endurance races are, and he said, "Hey, there's a lot of opportunity. It's a lot different than what you're used to, but I know that you have the engine to do it, and I want to give you the opportunity to go out and try it." So it's been a long time for me trying these events. The first year or two, I struggled really hard and just got my teeth kicked in at a lot of these events. Switching my physiology to be a long endurance athlete was a lot different. But he was absolutely right, and there were a lot more opportunities for me. And with the timing of the Grand Prix coming out, it was huge. And now I have my own privateer program, and all of my sponsors are interested in this Lifetime Grand Prix and this new American wave of mass participation events, which are so popular. And it's kind of like the timing was perfect for me. So yeah, long story. It just kind of worked out, and that's where I ended up, and that's where I have all of my opportunities now, and I'm super thankful for it.
When you say he saw some potential in you doing these longer events, was he talking specifically gravel or longer mountain bike events like a Leadville or a marathon like Schwamigan?
Both. I mean, at the time, it was a really hard sell for me to go to gravel because I didn't want anything to do with it. Of course, being a cross country mountain biker. But yeah, both. And the main thing was just getting out to these mass participation events because that's where things are booming right now, and that's where there's the attention in American cycling. And so yeah, it had to do with gravel and also the Leadvilles and the Schwamigans and even Iceman.
Like, when did you get your teeth kicked in? What kind of races were you getting your teeth kicked in the early days? Was it long gravel events?
Yeah, gravel. I remember my first gravel race was BWR San Diego, and I died a million deaths out there. And I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, I even at Unbound this year, I died a million deaths. So it's like it's all these gravel races, SBT gravel. The longer and the flatter they are, the harder they are for me. Um, and and yeah, it was, at that time the longest I'd ever raced was an hour and a half, and then all of a sudden I'm getting thrown into a 6 hour race, and my longest rides at that point were maybe 5 hours or so. So it was a big change.
You had to get out and do some long,
Yeah.
slow rides,
Oh yeah.
coffee shop rides, pizza in the middle of the rides.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it looks like, and I'm looking at results here of Lifetime, which I should go through. The Lifetime races begin in April with the Sea Otter, which is a mountain bike race. That's a long mountain bike race too. I mean,
Yeah.
the Sea Otter, it's not a 2 hour mountain bike race. It's almost 70 miles. Is that right?
Yeah, it was 4 hours this year.
Yeah, I mean, in April, that's got to be a long ways.
Yeah.
Crusher and the Tusher in Utah. Unbound, which is the 200-mile. Leadville, which is 100 miles of mountain biking. Schwamigan, which is the 40-miler. The Rad is a new one in Trinidad, Colorado. Have you ever done the Rad before?
No, this will be my first time.
It's been there, but it hasn't been part of the series.
Mm-hmm.
This will be your first time?
Yep.
And then culminating at Big Sugar in Arkansas in October, which is I think that's right at 100 mile. The Rad is 110, so a lot of them are in the 100-mile range.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like, based on your results, that I don't know, Crusher, Leadville, Sea Otter, those are your consistent best finishes. What is it about those races that you do well in versus, like you said, Unbound, where you get your
Yeah.
teeth kicked in a little bit?
I think, the more technical the race is, the better it is for me, just because of my skill set and background in mountain biking. And then also I'm a climber, so the courses that have the long climbs or the punches or any sort of elevation gain, that's where I usually thrive. It's taken me some time to figure out tactics and group dynamics in these flat, long gravel races, and that's where I struggle, is just kind of like the long, slow grind on the flats. That's what I've been working on a lot lately in training. But I think as far as my skill set goes and my abilities, I prefer going uphill or having a technical course.
Well, I don't know how technical it is. I've always told people that Leadville is like 97% freaking gravel road and 3% technical, but the 3% will ruin your day potentially. So it's not a super technical, but there's a little bit of uphill at Leadville.
Just a bit.
Had you done it before the Lifetime?
No, last year was my first year.
What'd you think? What's your What's your Leadville impression?
Oh, it's a legendary event. Yeah, I think after last year, it just became like the goal for me. It's like I want to go back and I want to win Leadville at some point in my career because it's iconic. I mean, it's one of the only races where your time means something, and anyone that's raced Leadville, knows if you have a good time there or not, and that just kind of really speaks to its history and how people value it. It's such a challenge for any racer, if it's the pros or if it's just someone going there to cross the finish line, um, and it's such a challenge with the extreme altitude. I mean, the average, I think, altitude you race at is like over 10,000 feet, and the highest point on the course is at 12,400 feet. And if you haven't raced at elevation, there's just no way you understand how hard that is until you get there. And if you have, then it's insane. Like walking upstairs at Leadville is hard.
It is.
Let alone racing your bike. So it's pretty cool. It's iconic, and there's a lot of rich history there, and I love it. So yeah.
I have to ask, like, whew, how are you going to win Leadville?
Keegan's got to retire.
Holy, holy crap! Was it right around 5:45, 5:43? Was that his final time?
Yeah. 5:43. So yeah, Keegan broke the record this year, which was absolutely phenomenal. One of the most incredible performances, and yeah, I mean, it was a historic ride there. So cool to be there the year that he broke it, but as a competitor, it's definitely like, damn.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Where were you, like, how did you play in that game? Like, what was your experience in that day?
Yeah, I mean, a race at that elevation, it's so much about just riding within your limits. And so, unlike a race like Schwamigan where you're looking around, rubbing elbows, it's one of those races where you just have to be so focused on not going over your red line and, not following accelerations or dumb moves. So I just paced it super well, rode really consistent, and we had a really good battle for second. I ended up falling off towards the end and rode in for fourth, but I feel like I executed my race plan perfectly and kept it within myself, pushed it really hard on all the downhills, maybe a little bit too hard towards the end because I punctured, and that cost me some time for sure. But that's just part of racing is yeah, taking risks or not. And
Right.
yeah, I was really happy with it. I was 10 minutes faster than last year, so that was a victory for me.
That's awesome. What was your time?
6:09.
6:09. I I did Leadville, I don't know, 2002 or 3 or somewhere in there. And then my wife and I did it on tandem 4 times in the OOs, a variety of years. And in those years, it was the Dave Weens, Floyd Landis, Lance Armstrong era.
Yep.
And one of those years, Dave and Lance broke 7 hours for the first time. And it was a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
And now you are, I don't know, well, you didn't win. You're probably like, dang nabbit, like, and you came in what'd you say, 6:03, 6:08?
6:09, yeah.
6:09, which is, I mean, you would have been an hour ahead of Weens and Armstrong, who set the record themselves. Like, that's how fast you guys are going. What is the freaking potential there? Like, are we talking road bikes in the future? Like, how fast can Leadville go?
It was so fast this year. It was amazing, and yeah, I don't know, because it just keeps getting faster and the level keeps getting higher, and the preparation for that event keeps becoming more important. I mean, this year for a lot of that field, that was their A event all year long. For me, it certainly was. For Keegan, it was. I'm sure for Alexi and Howard. And so yeah, I don't know how much faster it can get. It'll be exciting to see over the next few years. But as far as equipment goes, I think that we are all on a very similar setup, and I think it's the fastest, which is a hardtail mountain bike. And I ran 2.4 tires. I don't think that a road bike or gravel bike would be much faster there. But who knows? I mean, there were a lot of little things that riders were doing to get aerodynamic gains. Narrower bars. I cut my bars down to 680, and I had bar tape on my bars so I could grab in really narrow on all the flat sections and get down on my forearms, kind of in an aero position. Aero gloves, aero socks, aero helmet, skin suits. All those little things add up for sure, especially when you're racing over 6 hours and you have a lot of high speed flat sections. But yeah, I don't know. I say no on the road bike or gravel bike or drop bars.
I was being a little facetious there, although Stetna used drop bars at Schwamigan, which kind of surprised. I feel like that's pretty rocky.
Oh yeah,
for drop bars, but I don't know. Never know. Maybe they'll show up in Leadville.
Yeah, it's all preference. They did. They showed up in Leadville this year, and that's why I say it. At a lot of these races, we're seeing a lot different setups, which is really cool because it is kind of like, I don't know if it'd be faster. It might be, but we'll see. And for some riders like Stetna, it could be faster because he's used to that position and he's most confident in a drop bar position. But yeah, for me, I'm at home on my flat bars.
So we've got 2 more races left in the Lifetime Grand Prix. We've got the Rad and then Big Sugar. 5 races count. You've done your 5. Are you still pushing to erase that 19 from Unbound?
Yeah, that's the goal. I'm hoping that Unbound's my drop, so I better perform better than 19th at these next 2 races. But yeah, it's such a long series, and the events are spaced out almost a month in between. So my approach this season has been all in for the Grand Prix, so I've dedicated my whole season around it. So definitely gunning for those next 2 and hoping to land some good results and hopefully secure a really high place in the overall.
How do you manage everything from a 200-mile gravel race in the Flint Hills of Kansas to a 40-mile punchy, muddy mountain bike race through the Birkebeiner Trail in northern Wisconsin? Like, how do you prepare your body to be top-notch at everything in between?
Yeah, it's the greatest challenge. I mean, that's another thing that is so cool about racing this Grand Prix. It's like each event you're training differently for. And so, yeah, I work really closely with my coach and analyzing, each race and how we're going to change up training. And, as soon as we finish one race, it's like a total shift. A lot of times it's a different bike and a totally different structure of training for the next event. And so it's kind of like these periods of training that are all specific for each event, which is unlike, I would say, kind of any other discipline. If you're racing on the road or if you're racing World Cup mountain bike or cyclocross, it's kind of the same thing over and over again for every event. But this Grand Prix, it's this new thing, and for me, it keeps it really interesting. It really mixes up the process and the training, which has been really fun.
It actually is super interesting. If you compared it to a runner, it would be maybe everything from the 5K to an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
And being able to be good at both of those and everything in between. And nobody's like, people are like, okay, I'm done doing the 5K. Now I'm going to do the half marathon. Now I'm going to focus on marathons. And then you can go to the ultra. But It's like you're doing all of that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it takes a lot of a wide skill set too, because you have, really technical mountain bike races where you need to hone your skills, and then you have really tactical races like Unbound where, if you have road experience, it pays huge dividends. So yeah, it's really fun. It's this really cool crossing of all these different disciplines.
All right, so let's give it a little shout out. Speaking of all the different disciplines and the fact that you're using different bikes at different ones, but tell me your bike specs. What are you riding at a race like a mountain bike race? One of the mountain bike races, Sea Otter, Schwamigan, Leadville.
Hmm.
What's your kind of go-to setup on the mountain bike, and then switch it over to gravel? What are you riding on the gravel?
Yeah, so I'm riding on Giant, and for all the mountain bike races this year, I've been on their XTC hardtail frame. Um, it's been a toss up at a few between my full suspension, my Anthem, but I just feel really confident on the hardtail, and it's really fast. So I love using it, especially for like Schwamigan. It's super stiff, so up all the punches, it's really light. I use 2.4 Kenda Rush tires. I've actually raced those tires at every mountain bike race. Haven't changed at all. And I like the higher volume tires because I feel like they have more grip, and on a hardtail, it's kind of like your suspension. Um,
Right.
my gravel bike is their new Giant Revolt, which has been phenomenal for me this year. It's really comfortable and compliant. It's one of the gravel bikes that can fit up to a uh, 50C tire, so it has tons of clearance. And I've really actually been leaning towards the wider gravel tires. The last few races I've done, I've been using 45s, and yeah, like I said with the hardtail, your tires are your suspension, and that goes for gravel biking too. So um, really low pressure. I'm known to run super low pressure, and I use inserts quite a bit too, both on the gravel and the
Hmm.
mountain bike. But yeah, that's my setup.
So speaking of inserts and low tire pressure, you've been an Orange Seal guy for a few years here. When has Orange Seal saved your life?
Today, yeah, like
Today.
yeah, literally today. I punctured. I was pre-riding and way out on course, and it sealed up. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's constant, and as long as I have tire plugs with me, like, I know I'm gonna be safe because I've got sealant. I've got the best sealant, and in many races too. Leadville, I would say was a bigger save for sure because I punctured and it sealed up. I had to put more air in it. I didn't even have to plug it. Um, but yeah, it's like, yeah, it's the hero that we never see.
I love it. I have to admit, I'm like an old guy, and we've got, I think last time I counted, we have 12 bikes hanging out our garage or our basement, which obviously all need tender loving care throughout the year. And man, I just can't go to tubeless because I don't know, just taking care of them. So old curmudgeon guy, but I don't know. Talk me into Orange Seal. Talk me into going tubeless.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even ride with a tube. It's crazy. The holes that I plug are can be huge. They can even be, you know, slices in your sidewall. I go to like Walmart and I get car tire plugs. And as long as you have sealant, you can rip off tire plugs and you can plug anything. So it's kind of it's just like it makes you almost invincible to punctures. And yeah, the amount the volume that I'm riding, there's no way I could ride without sealant. I would be puncturing all the time, and a lot of times I'll pull my tires out, and you'll see, so many slices or punctures in your tire that have been sealed without you even knowing. um, and so it just goes to show that it's doing its job. And like today I have a new tire on, pinch flatted it. I had to plug the bead and I had to plug the top of the tread. Um, but I'll ride that tire until there's no tread left. I mean, as long as you plug it and you have sealant, then you're good. You don't have to go buy a new tire.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a game changer for me.
Huh. Actually, pretty convincing. I might have to ride with you, and you show me how to do all that stuff. I'm gonna need
Yeah.
a sidewall cut. I'm gonna need a thorn through both sides, a pinch flat. I'm gonna need all that stuff for you to show me how to fix, and then I don't know. So I mean, that's compelling argument right there. I appreciate that. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, of course. I mean, in the races that I'm doing, it's like that's the difference between being in it at the finish or not. Especially in gravel, it's very common for people to be plugging tires during the race, and a lot of times they'll go on to win the race, many times. So yeah, it keeps you going.
Very cool. So back to Lifetime. Two more races. You're sitting in second, but there's a whole bunch of you like packed in tight up there, second, third, fourth, fifth. You got it in you? You taking this?
Oh yeah, that's the goal.
I don't, I'm not even asking if you're going to win the thing because holy moly. Could anyone even win that yet? I
No,
mean, could anyone dethrone Keegan right
no,
now?
no. Keegan locked up. Yeah, he locked up the overall, so
Yeah,
he can
dang.
relax these next couple rounds, which he deserves to.
Is he even racing?
uh, I don't think he's racing the sixth round, but he has to come to Big Sugar because another requirement is you have to start the last race.
Dig it. Well, he was at Big Sur last year, and the question was he going to race it or just go for a coffee ride? And he sure raced it.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. It
pin a
wouldn't.
number on, and we all go, don't we?
Yeah, it wouldn't be like him to go for a coffee ride.
Yeah, for sure. So, can you hold off the chasers? Who's behind you? It's Alexi, Lachlan, man. I don't know how he did Schwamigan.
Yeah.
Stetna, Finsterwald. Like, can you keep all those guys off your back?
Yeah, I mean it's a super competitive field. There's so much talent in it. But yeah, I think if I just stay really focused on my process, and really focused on what I need to do from here until then, and what I need to execute in training, then I think I'm in the position to maintain that and hold those guys off.
That's awesome. Do you enjoy this race series?
Yeah, it's been huge. I'm so thankful for being a part of it, and I feel like we're really kind of I don't know, pioneering this new era of off-road racing, and it feels really special to be part of it. Um, we've never seen a series like this, and at the same time we have so much attention on it, and yeah, it's really cool, and I'm super stoked to be a part of it.
Well, having watched U.S. racing for 1,000 years or so, it's great to see the focus on like a decidedly U.S. series that people are interested in and taking seriously, and the media is paying attention
Hmm.
to enough so that guys like you can go to Giant and can go to Orange Seal and um, say, "Hey, support me in this venture and help me get around the country and help me kind of eat in between, and you know, I will show your wares at this race series." And it's important enough to Giant, etc.,
Hmm.
to to be able to help you. And I think that's quite important now. I say as we head into the cyclocross season,
Yeah.
and that was an editorial comment by Dave.
Yeah, it is absolutely important.
Dig it. Well, listen, man, I it's a delight to meet you. I enjoyed being able to chat for 3.5 seconds at Schwamigan. I don't know if you know, but that's where Sevilla and I met. It was kind of funny. I remember telling her last year was just freaking brutal with the rain.
Yeah.
And I know we left you guys with just a freaking muddy mess for at least half of that course. We churned it up for you, and you're welcome for that.
Oh, it was awesome. Appreciate it.
But I was talking to Rose Grant after the race, and I was like, Rose, I've been coming for 20 years, and that is the worst conditions, the hardest Schwamigan I've ever done. And Sevilla just was standing there next to us, and her eyes just went wide open and like, oh my gosh, really? I'm like, yeah, Sevilla, you just won like the hardest Schwamigan ever. And I know that's recency bias, but holy moly, last year was a hard year. So that's how I met Sevilla, was at Schwamigan. So it was kind of fun to meet you there as well. And so kind of you to jump on the pod with me. I totally appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. So one last question. If you could choose anybody, dead or alive, to go for a ride with, who would that be?
Yeah, it's a pretty easy one for me. Sevilla is like my number one ride buddy. And yeah.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
Also, I can't answer anyone else,
No, you cannot. Whose podcast were you on? Was it Ted King or Boswell? Breakfast with Boz?
Yeah, maybe.
Somebody had you on their podcast and asked you that question, and you're like, you're thinking, and I was like, dude,
you gotta say it.
Don't think about it. Sevilla, that's an easy question. Like, come on, man.
It is true though. That's how we really hit it off, was riding together, and yeah, she's amazing to ride with. I don't get to ride with her a whole lot now. She spends a ton of time in Europe, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to being back together and going for some rides together. I convinced her to come race Little Sugar, which is before Big Sugar, in Arkansas with me. So she'll make a lifetime debut there this year, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah.
Very cool. Is she back in the States?
Yeah, she is. Point? She's in California preparing for snowshoe. So she kicks it back on next week. They have snowshoe, and then the week after that, Mount St. Anne. So watch out for those.
Awesome. And then you guys get to hang together.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there a YouTube episode in our future?
Yeah. Actually, we were just talking about it today. So I think we'll do a video when we're in Arkansas, and finally she'll be back on the channel. It'll be good.
Awesome.
Yep.
I love it. Well, thanks, man. Good luck this weekend at Marathon Nationals, and good luck at. So I assume you're doing Little Sugar?
Yep.
Gosh, you got a full calendar coming up.
I know.
Little Sugar, Big Sugar, Nationals, the Rad. Like, do you sleep?
I try to, but yeah, it's packed. My life's on a spreadsheet. It's a lot of logistics, but yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, you're doing awesome, and looks like you're having fun, and you're certainly doing well. So, kudos. Good luck the rest of the season, and we'll see you somewhere along the way.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dave. Appreciate it.
I am super thankful to Cole for joining me today. Not only is he fast, but geez, what a great guy. Sevilla, if you're listening, Cole wants to go for a bike ride with you. Now, I'd like to wish him luck as he finishes out his long season and winds up for a well-earned rest. Maybe he'll click into a pair of skis this winter and shred some deep pow and get pitted, so pitted, like that. I hope you got that. Anyway, be sure to give him a follow on Instagram. Just look for Cole Paton. Now, I'd like to thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed today's show, I would love it if you would rate and review on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook. And now, we are on YouTube. Every episode from here on out will be published to YouTube, so if you take your content that way, rock on. Look for Bike Talk with Dave channel on YouTube. Now, if you really love the show and you want to be a part of its continued growth, feel free to support it financially. Just look for Bike Talk with Dave at buymeacoffee.com, and when you do, I would love to send you a sticker. And finally, be sure and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. We've got some great episodes coming up. Jake Cooperman, a cycling-inspired artist. Emily Newsom to talk about women's racing and many, many other things. plus Pete Stetna, the privateer pioneer, and later this fall, the Hall of Fame mountain biker Dave Wiens. Like I said, you don't want to miss a thing. So we'll see you next week, and remember that nothing compares to the simple pleasure of riding a bicycle.